Curtis was my role model. He had given me a book on how to study, and that really helped.
He helped in educating me, putting me through school while he was when he was working on his PhD. He was also helping by sending money to my parents to help me to be able to get my education.
And Curtis never missed coming home for Christmas. I can only remember one year that he didn't come home. And that was because he had an experiment going on, and he said he couldn't leave his chickens.
He loved and took care of his mother, my mother. Yeah. And I know my mother told me Curtis never missed sending her flowers on Mother's Day. He wanted to make sure that she was taken care of.
But I feel very fortunate to have known him and to have heard the stories about him. And I can just imagine what it would have been like. He and my father working in the lab in the early days with the chaos and the obstacles they had to overcome, and the fact that they did it so beautifully. And they all walked away with something, very successful and promising. In a way, it was kind of neat because my father had mentored him, and then he mentored me, and it was a circle of education. He was very quiet, very modest person in many ways, but I think he would be thrilled to see that we valued his contribution so much, and that we are making great strides to improve training of underrepresented minorities, which is something very near and dear to his heart.
Dr. Harper is remembered not only for his work in science and his faith in community, but also for his ability to overcome difficult times through his optimism and generosity.
We were very clear that as white parents, we couldn't provide everything a black boy needs to learn in this country, so Curtis was one of his mentors, I'd say. What was always on Curtis's heart was a desire for the broad church in America to be fighting on the front lines against racism. I get really emotional thinking about it because he was such a quiet and loving person. He was never, his challenge was always an invitation. It was never there was never a spirit of rejection, and it was not often that he shared stories about his own experiences with racism, though he had many of them.
Curtis seemed to have a way of letting things roll off his back, but it must have been hard for him. And I regret very much that I wasn't enough in his life that he would want to share that with me.
Curtis was a real trailblazer because at that time, there were few African Americans in such a competitive research program. And it may not have been easy for him because some of the faculty probably were not as supportive as they could have been. But my dad said he never complained. He never, ever complained about what he had to face. And that's really remarkable when you think about the obstacles.
I think even with the students, as he was working there at the university, it was about educating them, but it's also a personal relationship.
He came to my wedding. That would be something only people who have a friendly relationship do. At one point, I don't remember, I must have been 20 years after I graduated, and I tried to say to him, I've achieved some success, and I really do want to thank you. And kind of chokes me up. And he would hear it. He would hear nothing of it. It's like, I know you did it on your own. Everybody who's ever had any success they can oftentimes point to someone who was instrumental in helping them get there. For me, that was Curtis.
He almost never met a stranger.
He was such an extraordinarily gentle soul.
His warm handshake and warm smile. Yeah, when he shook your hand, it was so genuine.
He wasn't even eating that much anymore, but he sent us out to get as much red lobster as we could, to bring back to him and take out.
Say, good guys finish last, but I don't know that I agree with that. Curtis was a good guy, and I think he did all right for himself. He certainly did all right for me.
Once a friend with him, always a friend. He loved people, If you were his friend, you were his friend for life.
Exactly.